Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Mazel Tov again to the Cohen family. Leah crushed it this morning. He's doing beautifully. My children look forward to Shabbat every week. After a crazy week of school, work, packing lunches, an unbelievable amount of dishes, laundry, schlepping to extracurricular activities, and more, Friday night is a special time in our home. Embracing Shabbat rituals, one of the first things that we do together as a family is prepare to light the Shabbat candles. Now in our house, with an 8, 6, and almost 4-year-old, as in many situations, this moment inevitably turns into a fight, as all three are jostling over who gets to strike the match and light the candles. Now I don't know if you've heard this, but there's a stereotype that Jewish parents can be just a bit overprotective. Comedian Joel Chasnoff tells a joke that's a personal favorite. It goes something like this. He says, I live in Los Angeles, and I was going to attend a wedding in San Francisco. My mother asked how I was planning to travel there. I told her my plan was to drive both ways. She said, absolutely not. You can drive there, but you have to fly home. Why? Because she was afraid that if I was in a car accident while driving south alongside the ocean, that my car would be hurled into the ocean below if I were in that accident and I would drown. Well, while I'd like to think that I'm not quite as extreme as Joel's mother, the idea of my children playing with matches generally terrifies me. What if they get burned? What if they set themselves on fire? What if there are flammable art supplies nearby? They get freaked out, throw the match, lands on them, and the house explodes. You know, totally rational parental thoughts. Now, the blessing that we say when lighting Shabbat candles is Lahadlik Ner Shel Shabbat. You'll notice the blessing is in the singular. The instruction is to kindle the candle, Ner, not Nerot, Ner of Shabbat. So why do we traditionally light 2 candles? Because in the Torah, the 10 commandments appear twice. And commandment 4, which is the one about Shabbat, appears differently each time. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat in one instance, and Shamor et Yom HaShabbat in the other. Remember the Sabbath day, guard the Sabbath day. And because of these 2 different words, we traditionally light 2 candles, one for Zachor and one for Shamor. But there's actually nothing that says that you can't light more than 2 candles. So one potential solution might be for us to light 3 rather than 2 candles, so that each child can strike their own match and we can avoid the fight. But due to my own fears as a parent, as it relates to my children and fire, this would triple my stress. So instead, I end up striking the match. I let them hold my arm or hand as together we light the candles, and they are not satisfied. Now, Gaver Tully, founder of the Tinkering School, gave a TED Talk back in 2007 called 5 Dangerous Things You Should Let Your Kids Do. He encourages parents to let their kids have a pocket knife, learn to throw a spear, deconstruct appliances, and drive a car while in your lap. But his number 1 thing to let kids do? Let them play with fire. He shares, quote, that learning to control one of the most elemental forces in nature is a pivotal moment in any child's personal history. It's the first time we really get control of one of these mysterious things. Playing with it teaches basic principles like intake, combustion, and exhaust. Open pit fires are a laboratory. You will learn things you can't get out of playing with Dora the Explorer toys. End quote. Now, fire is indeed elemental. It plays a central role in Jewish communal ritual and has for millennia. In the ancient temple, the priests were barbecue pitmasters, tending to altar fires and cooking meats on them. We not only light candles to begin Shabbat, but we light a Havdalah candle to conclude Shabbat. We light Yortzeit candles to mark the anniversaries of loved ones passing. We have a whole holiday devoted to fire mythology, Hanukkah. And in this week's Torah portion, we're commanded to kindle an eternal flame. Here's the verses. Adonai spoke to Moses saying, command the Israelite people to bring you clear oil of beaten olives for lighting, for kindling a ner tamid, a continual lamp. Aaron shall set them up in the tent of meeting outside the curtain of the pact to burn from evening to morning before Adonai continually. It's a law for all time throughout the ages. While the commandment to have a continual fire was specific to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, today, inspired by that instruction, Synagogues around the world have an eternal light, a ner tamid that hangs over the ark, right? It's meant to show God's unwavering presence in the world. Now today in most synagogues, including this one, the ner tamid is powered by electricity. But there actually still are a few congregations where the ner tamid is oil burning, and the newest trend is actually to have a congregation's ner tamid be solar powered. There's something inherently holy about fire. Many years ago when I lived in Chicago, I was part of a progressive Chevra Kadisha, a holy burial society. Many people don't know that these groups exist, but in most Jewish communities, there are actually volunteers who help prepare bodies for burial once someone has passed away. And our tradition teaches that once someone has passed, their body is meant to be accompanied and guarded at all times. And in today's world, where burial often takes place a number of days after someone has passed, in lieu of having an individual watch over the body through the night for multiple nights, the tradition has emerged to light a large, slow-burning candle, with the flame serving as the guardian. Now, this concept of flame as guardian really resonates with me, and it helps me understand why my ancestors were so diligent about keeping the eternal flame in the temple lit. And counter to what one might expect, lighting the ner tamid wasn't about doing something that would benefit God. Rather, the people were the ones who benefited from the lamp being continuously lit, because it allowed them to feel God's presence and protection. The Midrash thinks this self-explanatory, as there we're taught that God, who is the source of light, obviously doesn't need more light. And the Talmud builds on this teaching, as Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani says, that God, in issuing this instruction to kindle an eternal flame, wants to make clear that this flame, this ner tamid, is not for God's benefit because God doesn't need the light. Rather, it's for the benefit of the people. The instruction to keep the eternal flame burning is meant to be an inspiration to us. So why a lamp? This flame, this ner? Well, the Kabbalistic tradition has much to say about the juxtaposition of darkness and light, and regularly looks for hidden meanings in various words. In the Zohar, the core Kabbalistic text, we find a spiritual take on the ner tamid, as it states that ner, nun resh, is an acronym for neshama ruach, soul, spirit. In the mystical rabbinic mind, when bound together, soul and spirit represent a perfect union of masculine and feminine. Together they bring forth light, but separated they are powerless and in the dark. So next Shabbat, inspired by the physical power of fire, its spiritual energy and potential, and knowing that Gever Tully would approve, I plan to set aside my anxieties and to let each of my children light their own Shabbat candle. In doing so, and in eliminating the recurring argument over who gets to light the candles each week, I hope they'll be provided with the space for their souls and spirits to join together and soar, so that they can benefit from the light and in turn be the light themselves. But I'll still have a fire extinguisher nearby. Shabbat Shalom.